In a quiet part of the village, an old woman named Ijeoma lived alone. Ijeoma had once been beautiful in her youth, but time had taken away her beauty, leaving her with a longing for the days when men would fall at her feet. Her bones ached, and her wrinkled face reminded her every morning that her time had passed. One evening, as the moon shone brightly, Ijeoma heard a voice calling her from the forest. She followed the sound until she came to an ancient tree. There, hidden inside a hollow, she found a small bottle filled with a glowing liquid. The voice whispered, "Drink, and be young again. But beware. Never look into a mirror, or the spell will break." Without hesitation, Ijeoma drank from the bottle, and within moments, her wrinkles smoothed, her gray hair turned black, and her body became youthful once more. She smiled, admiring her new reflection in the river's water, but stayed far away from mirrors, just as the voice had warned. Now Ijeoma, appearing as a stunning young woman, returned to the village. Her new beauty was unlike anything the villagers had seen in years. Her skin glowed, and her eyes sparkled like stars in the night sky. Men stopped in their tracks when she walked by, women whispered in jealousy, and the village buzzed with talk of the mysterious, beautiful woman who had appeared out of nowhere. Among the many admirers were two men who became particularly obsessed. Chaik, a skilled hunter known for his strength and bravery, and Namdi, a hard-working farmer whose crops were the pride of the village. Every day, both men brought Ijeoma gifts, Chaik with fresh game from the forest, and Namdi with the finest vegetables from his farm. Each hoped to win her heart, but little did they know Ijeoma had no intention of marrying either of them. She enjoyed their attention, their gifts, and their constant praise, but to her, they were merely toys to be played with. Chaik and Namdi, unaware of the truth, began to compete fiercely for her affection. They would argue in the village square about who deserved her more, and some days, their fights nearly turned physical. But Ijeoma never chose between them. She would smile and say, "The one who impresses me the most will win my heart," and so the competition continued. However, things took a turn when the prince of the land visited the village. Word of Ijeoma beauty had spread far and wide, and the prince, eager to find a bride, came to see for himself. As soon as he laid eyes on her, he was captivated. Unlike Chaik and Namdi, the prince wasted no time. He declared that Ijeoma would be his bride and invited her to stay in the palace for a month before the grand wedding. For Ijeoma, this was the ultimate prize. To live in luxury, adored by a prince, was beyond anything she had ever dreamed. But deep down, a fear began to grow. What if someone discovered her secret? What if she accidentally looked into a mirror? The days passed, and Ijeoma basked in the attention and wealth of the palace. She wore the finest clothes, ate the best food, and enjoyed the company of the prince. But she always avoided mirrors, pretending to be shy or too busy to care about her appearance. The palace maids were puzzled by her behavior, but no one questioned her directly. On the day of the wedding, the entire village gathered at the palace. It was a grand event, with musicians playing, dancers performing, and everyone eagerly waiting to see the beautiful bride and the prince exchange vows. Ijeoma was dressed in a gown made of the finest silk, her hair braided with golden threads. As she stood in her room, preparing for the ceremony, one of the palace maids, eager to impress her, brought out a large mirror. "Look at yourself, my lady," the maid said. "You are the most beautiful bride this land has ever seen." Before Ijeoma could stop her, the maid placed the mirror in front of her. Ijeoma's eyes widened in horror as she saw her reflection. The spell began to break instantly. Her youthful face twisted and wrinkled. Her hair turned gray, and her once smooth skin sagged and shriveled. She screamed, dropping to the ground as the palace maid gasped and stumbled backward. The noise reached the wedding guests, and soon, the prince and the villagers rushed into the room. They found Ijeoma on the floor, her true form revealed for all to see. The prince, disgusted and enraged, turned away, unable to believe that the woman he had chosen was nothing more than an old deceiver. Chaik and Namdi, who had been ready to fight for her love just weeks before, stood in the crowd, stunned and speechless. They had both been fooled, chasing after a beauty that was never real. As the villagers whispered and gossiped, Ijeoma, now her true self, was escorted out of the palace. She walked slowly, her head down, no longer the center of attention. The men who had once fought for her affection avoided her gaze, and the women, who had been envious of her beauty, now pitied her. The old woman who once sought to relive her youth and play with the hearts of men had learned a harsh lesson. True beauty comes from within, and no spell could ever change that.